Good evening. I will call the Tuesday, July 21st, 2026 City Council meeting to order. All council members are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This will be an irregular meeting this evening. I want to thank you all for joining us. Yesterday marked exactly 1 week since the fatal shooting of Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero. I met with Johann's beloved partner, Carolina, and his sister, Daniela, at the site of Johann's death and memorial yesterday, where they grieved this unimaginable loss. They asked for justice for the senseless killing of Johann, who was a father, a son, a brother, and a beloved partner. I now ask that we please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. On the morning of July 13th, our neighbor, Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero, left his home to go to work. He pulled out of his own driveway, his car, the way he had on so many ordinary mornings. He never came home. I'd like to say his name again, so it's in this room and in this record. Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero. Johann's life was not so different from yours or mine. He lived here. He worked hard to make sure the people he loved had what they needed. He held down multiple jobs, all of them above board. He and his daughter played in the same parks that our children's play in. Johann spent many afternoons with his daughter Dulce at the new playground at the J. Richard Martin Community Center, laughing and playing like so many parents do with their own kids. He shopped in the same stores we shop in. He walked the same streets that we walk every day. He brushed his daughter's teeth at night, held her hand until she fell asleep. He was, by every account, a devoted father. Our own government had reviewed his paperwork, approved it, given him a permit to work, and given him a social security number. Our government knew exactly who he was, and still, one of its agents shot and killed him on a peaceful summer morning on a Biddeford street with no camera recording what happened. I'd like to be clear about why we're here tonight, because I don't want anyone to mistake it. We're not here because of where Johann was born. We're not here to make a political point. We're here because Johann was a member of this community, our community. And because of what we're doing tonight for him, what we're asking for him, we would ask for any person who died in this way on the streets of Biddeford. Anyone. That's what it means to be a community. When one of us is taken like this, we do not look away. We do not stay quiet. So what are we asking for? Two simple things: justice and truth. The truth of what happened to Johann that morning, a full, honest, transparent accounting with nothing hidden and no one shielded from it. And justice for Johann, for Carolina, and for Dulce and Daniela. And this grief that they feel transcends Biddeford. Tonight and across Maine, there are immigrant families carrying a fear that the rest of us are not asked to carry: a fear of driving to work, of taking their children to the park. That fear is paralyzing. And in our city, we will not pretend otherwise, will not look past the people who have to live with it. So to our immigrant neighbors, you belong here. You are part of who Biddeford is, and you should not have to carry this weight alone. And you are not alone. I want to recognize some of the organizations that have stood with Johan's family from the very first days: the Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition and Presente Maine, who are doing the difficult, deeply human work of supporting this family and this community through a grief that never should have been theirs to bear. The city is grateful for you, and I stand with you. Carolina, Dulce, Daniela, and Johan's friends and family, I promise you that I see you, our city grieves with you, and our city will not let Johan's name be forgotten or his death be treated as one more cost of a broken system. Because we cannot allow the death to become acceptable collateral for enforcement. And justice for Johan. When I spoke with Carolina, what she asked for was remarkably simple. She wants justice for what she described as an unjust and senseless killing. She wants the truth about what happened that morning. Every family deserves those answers. And the greatest tribute we can offer Johan is not simply to remember his life, but to pursue the truth about how it ended and ensure his family is not left to carry this burden alone. So I ask you to hold Johan's family in your thoughts, and I will now read the following proclamation into the official record. Demanding justice and accountability for the fatal shooting of Johan Sebastian Duran Guerrero and calling for humane immigration reform. Whereas Johan Sebastian Duran Guerrero was a resident of Biddeford, and whereas Johan had submitted an application to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services for permission to work, which was reviewed and approved. And whereas the Department of Homeland Security had issued Johan an employment authorization document, and whereas the United States government had issued Johan a social security number. And whereas, because Johan was following correct procedures, the United States government knew who he was, knew where he lived, had authorized him to work, knew he was working multiple jobs to provide for his family, and knew he was paying state and federal taxes as a result of his employment. And whereas the same federal government that reviewed his application, documented his presence, issued him a federal work permit, and gave him a social security number, had one of its agents shoot and kill Johan Sebastian Duran Guerrero on July 13th, 2026 in the streets of Biddeford, Maine. And whereas Johan's violent and senseless death has caused immeasurable grief for Carolina, who has lost her life partner and the father of her young daughter, for Dulce, who must now grow up without her father, and for Johan's family, friends, loved ones, and the entire Biddeford community. And whereas the circumstances that led to Johan's death at the hands of the United States government require a thorough, impartial, independent, and transparent investigation with the full involvement and cooperation of Maine law enforcement authorities and all relevant evidence, including recordings, communications, reports, dispatch information, physical evidence, personnel records, training materials, and other documentation must be preserved and disclosed to the fullest extent permitted by law. And whereas the Biddeford Police Department employs only highly trained officers and equips its officers with body-worn cameras because this fundamental public safety and accountability tool is simple, reasonable, and so easily achievable. And whereas the enforcement agents of the United States government fell far short of the professional standards routinely upheld by local police departments throughout Maine, including unrelenting attention to safety, restrained use of force, and de-escalation training, and that this failure by agents of the United States government to meet these basic standards led to the senseless use of deadly force on Biddeford streets by an agent not equipped with a body-worn camera, resulting in an unrecorded death that further destroys the public's faith in the transparency, integrity, and accountability of federal immigration enforcement. And whereas Biddeford is widely acknowledged throughout the United States as a community built by generations of immigrants, and to this day remains a city where people from many backgrounds have found opportunity, belonging, and a place to call home. and every person in Maine is entitled to dignity, safety, due process, and equal protection under the law, and the fundamental right to be treated humanely. Now, therefore, I, Liam LaFountain, Mayor of the City of Biddeford, do hereby proclaim and resolve to do everything within the city's lawful authority and available resources to support Carolina Rojas Alvarez and her daughter Dulce during this time of profound grief, despair, uncertainty, and need. Call for a thorough, impartial, independent, and transparent investigation into Johan's death, conducted with the full involvement and cooperation of Maine law enforcement, and for the United States government to cease its painfully reckless and deadly enforcement activities in Biddeford. Demand that Congress and the executive branch reform the nation's decade-old, broken, and inhumane immigration system, a system that has separated families, subjected people, including children, to prolonged and degrading detention, denied meaningful due process, and caused immeasurable suffering and preventable death, and replace it with a just and humane system grounded in dignity, family unity, accountability, respect for human life, and bring an end to immigration enforcement that operates without accountability and without regard for human life. Refuse to accept the death of any member of this community as acceptable collateral for immigration enforcement in Biddeford or in any community. And reaffirm that all people who live in Biddeford are an essential part of Biddeford's identity, history, strength, and future, and that every person who lives, works, studies, worships, or raises a family in this city deserves to feel safe and to be treated with such dignity. Thank you. Now, as we do at many council meetings, we allow for public comment addressing the council. I understand there are a lot of folks interested in speaking tonight on such a topic as we have in front of us. I do want to remind folks of the rules for such communication with the council, which I will read here. City of Biddeford's elected representatives welcome the public input. We also recognize that many issues beyond the city, such as state and national issues, affect the City of Biddeford and its citizens. We understand and appreciate that there are many diverse and different opinions held by our citizens. However, the city will not tolerate any comment that is hateful, exhibits intolerance for any group or groups of people, contains derogatory characterizations of any group or groups of people, contains profanity, or otherwise exceeds the boundaries of common decency. Generally, the purpose of public participation at council meetings is to allow Biddeford's residents to express their opinions on issues that are within the mayor and council's jurisdiction, and comments should be germane to matters over which the city may act. However, the fatal shooting of Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero occurred within the City of Biddeford without any involvement of the Biddeford Police Department or any city officials. We recognize that this fatal shooting by an agent of Immigration and Customs Enforcement creates the need for citizens to express their feelings. Please note that the rules of the City Council, Rule 3Q6, the presiding officer may limit or cut off any commentary that we determine is not germane or that is discourteous, slanderous, abusive, or not in accord with good order or decorum. Thank you for your understanding. At this time, if there are any folks who would like to provide public comment, there is a 3-minute limit. We have a timer. Our city clerk, Lisa Ward, will be providing that timer and a warning for when those 3 minutes are up. And when you could come up to the podium, state your full name, and if you are a resident of Biddeford, you can state your ward, otherwise the city in which you reside. Thank you.
Ready? My name is Kelsey Cummings. I am a renter. I am a business owner right on Main Street, and I live on Alfred Street. I have been emailing everyone with a government position or a title since January. I have met with multiple mayors in November. My business owners haven't been able to open. We had an underground grocery system. It's not cute to do that. It's dangerous. I don't understand why that wasn't the trigger and why that wasn't serious enough where someone had to lose their life. Our community has stepped up too much. We have been put on too much. Construction, taxes, unhoused situation, city manager, new mayors. It has been too much. You are asking too much of us. You all need to expect more of these people. If they can't do anything, then we're out of luck. then we should just go home now. If there's nothing that these people can do, then what's the point of all of this? Why are we here? Please look around the room for 1 second, please. This is not representative of Biddeford. We are diverse. Asian, Black, Muslim, white, old. We are the oldest downtown with the youngest median age. We cannot afford to be here. We are losing money. Thank you. People ask me to step up. I am here for you. I will always be here for you, and I will step up, and I am going to keep fighting, because if not, then what's the point? Thank you.
Hi, my name's Amy Kearns, and I live in Ward 5, and I'm just going to read so it's easier. I'm a little intimidated. We don't and we shouldn't have to choose a political side to want what is best for our people and our community. Transparency, accountability, and compassion are not partisan values, they are community values. I don't pretend to have all the answers. What I do know is that our children are watching. They are learning from how we respond in a moment of crisis, how we treat one another when emotions run high, and whether we choose understanding over division. They deserve the very best of all of us. This community has faced adversity before, but nothing could have fully prepared us for what we experienced this past week. The grief and uncertainty have been profound, and we will never forget Juan Sebastian Guerrero or the life he was building for his family. His life mattered, and his family deserves to know that their loss will not be forgotten. My hope is that in the days, months, and years ahead, we remember not only this tragedy, but also the compassion, courage, and unity this community displayed in seeking transparency, accountability, and justice for one of our neighbors. What gives me hope is how Biddeford responded. We were unexpectedly thrusted into national spotlight, attention we did not sought or wanted. Yet we showed the country that Biddeford is far more than a small coastal city in Maine. We are a community that stands together. We embrace the diversity that has shaped us, value every person who calls this city home, and understand that dignity and respect should never depend on someone's background, beliefs, or political affiliation. At a time when our nation often feels divided, this community demonstrated that we demanded a transparency and accountability while still treating one another with humanity. We showed that disagreement does not have to become disrespect, and that compassion is not a sign of weakness. It is a reflection of our character. I am grateful to the men and women who served our community under extraordinary pressure, and to the residents who supported one another, checked on their neighbors, and reminded us that community is built through kindness, especially during difficult times. I am proud to call Biddeford home. No community is perfect, but this past week reminded me of who we are at our core. We are resilient, we care deeply, we show up for one another, and my hope is that we carry those values forward, continuing to seek truth, continuing to listen, and continuing building a community where every person feels seen, respected, and valued. This is the Biddeford I know, this is the Biddeford I believe in, and this is the Biddeford we need to continue to strive to be.
Good evening. My name is Tofi Thorne, and I'm here on behalf of Presente Maine. As the mayor alluded to, over the past week, we have been supporting the family through this traumatizing series of events. But tonight, we are not here to talk about paperwork. We're not here to debate work permits or court dates or immigration status, because the truth is, none of that matters. No piece of paper determines whether a human being deserves to live or to die. Juan Sebastian Duran Guerrero was a father, a partner, a worker, a neighbor, and a human being. And last Monday, as we all know, on July 13th, he was shot and killed in cold blood on the streets of this city. But this is bigger than one shooting. This is bigger than Biddeford. It's bigger than Maine. We have been watching a pattern of state-sanctioned violence unfold against our communities across the entire country. Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Houston. Of course, Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis. The 22 individuals who have died in ICE custody just this year alone, these are the ones that we know of. And now, of course, Johann Sebastian here in our streets, countless families destroyed, and one agency responsible every single time. This violence and criminalization is not new to us. In January, our communities lived through an ICE occupation that never truly ended. At the time, we warned publicly at Presente that in meetings with local officials, in statements just like this one, that the longer ICE remained embedded in our communities, the more likely it was that someone was going to die. A community member, a legal observer, someone. And here we are 6 months later, standing here, proven right in the worst possible way. And when asked about this violence, what did we hear from those in charge? I saw an interview last week. Tom Homan, one of the architects of this administration's immigration enforcement, called these deaths not even a bump in the road, not even a pause worth taking seriously. That is how little our lives are worth to those in charge of running this operation. This family will carry this loss for the rest of their lives. Their 3-year-old daughter will grow up without her father. That is not a bump in the road. That is a lifetime of grief that this administration both created and dismissed in the very same breath. So when we say no more, we mean it. Not another statement, not another investigation that ICE controls. We are not here to ask for the review of use of force policy or wait for a report, and we are not here to ask for more training or a review of ICE's procedures and their tactics. We have to make sure that this time it is actually different, that the family's grief and a daughter growing up without her father means something beyond the headline that we are already seeing fade in a week. That there is justice. There are no other families added to this very same list. So we're here to say today that ICE has no business in our communities, not in our jails, not in our schools, not at our poll sites, and not in our streets. May I finish? May I have a few more? If you want safe communities, ICE cannot be a part of them, full stop. Every single dollar, every agreement, and every ounce of cooperation that any city and state gives this agency makes all of us less safe, full stop. And we will accept nothing less than a total dismantling of this lawless criminal agency. So we refuse once again to grieve quietly and wait for change, not when our very survival is on the line. Our communities today are actively under attack, not hypothetically, not someday, but right now. So we are asking this council to stand with us with actions and not statements. So you must continue to block the deputization of local law enforcement to participate in mass detention and deportation, and also break collaboration between ICE and CBP and DHS and FBI and local law enforcement. We must continue to advance transnational cultures of care, belonging, invitation, accountability, and interdependence, and even and especially under pressure, building relationships with those who have experienced the violence of incarceration, detention, and deportation firsthand. So please protect this community, because until you do, none of us are truly safe, and no family is protected from becoming the next name on this list. Thank you.
Good evening, Sam P. Core, Ward 7. Strange to be saying that in this room instead of city council chambers. I'm curious, by a show of hands, who among you was truly surprised that Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero was shot and killed by federal immigration enforcement officers last Monday? Anyone? I won't pretend that your silence is an answer, but either answer raises a question this council must confront. If you weren't surprised, then the danger was known. If you were surprised, then the warnings the city had already documented weren't taken seriously or followed with the urgency they required. 250 years ago, this month, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. On Thursday, I took the same oath that binds each of you to support the constitutions of the United States and Maine and faithfully discharge the duties of office. Last week, Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero was deprived of his life and his liberty. The oath you took does not give you command over ICE, but it does require more than reciting what municipal government cannot do. It requires you to identify and use every lawful power of your office to defend the constitutional rights of your constituents. That is where you failed him. I do not fault this council for lacking federal authority. I fault it for failing to publicly examine, debate, and exercise municipal authority. By January, the city had already described and recognized the local harm. Across the country, we watched Americans killed by federal immigration officers. We watched people abducted from their homes, workplaces, and streets by masked agents in unmarked vehicles, sometimes without warrant, probable cause, or even lawful authority. Torn away from their families and the lives they had built. And here in Biddeford, the city admitted that the harm was real and happening here. Yet the public response remains chiefly administrative. After January 28th, the public record I reviewed goes quiet until Johann was killed. Your values were published, the safeguards were not. The mayor's statements have been necessary, and tonight's proclamation may properly honor Johann, but statements and ceremony will not make us safe. They do not answer the question before us. What do this council and this mayor intend to do? When it comes to responsibility, I'm not claiming that anyone here is responsible for Johann's death, but political responsibility includes what governing bodies do after recognizing a danger, or a danger that we recognized in January. Limited power is not no power. You cannot control ICE, but you can govern Biddeford. It is your job to use every lawful municipal power to defend constitutional government within these borders. The danger before us demands leadership in the full exercise of local authority. Publish the Biddeford Police Department's policy. Order a public legal review of the city's federal agreements and available municipal safeguards. Put binding action before this council. If you believe that the city lacks the authority, publish the legal analysis. If you possess the authority but refuse to use it, say so plainly. Statements and proclamations tell us what you believe, but they don't make us safe. If this council chooses continued passivity, I will organize, petition, and work openly to replace those of you at the ballot box. 15% of the last gubernatorial election is suitable for recalling the mayor and at-large councilors. That's 1,300 people. For councilors, it's about 300. I think we can do that if we have to.
Good evening. My name is Matt Haas, Ward 1. I want to thank the council for your leadership. You didn't create this situation, but you do have to deal with it. I've been at the park every night since this happened, and I've been with the kids in the neighborhood, and it's not easy for anyone. The proclamation you made tonight was the truth, every word. But I ask you, what do we do while the proclamation works its way through the system? My father taught me that all politics is local, and it seems to me that a simple solution is that ICE doesn't come into this town without registering with the Biddeford Police. Let our police decide what the community needs to do to help, monitor, and ensure the laws are upheld. We have demonstrated that we as a local community know what is right and are committed to watching out for each other. Then maybe Saco would join us, and Alfred. But no matter what, we must remain united in protecting each other. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nelto Inoue. I live in Kennebunkport, just down a few miles down from Pool Road and Hill Street, that I've been to every day to pay respect to Sebastian. I am a zero generation American, and I chose to become naturalized citizen just so that I can vote. I only have a simple suggestion for City of Biddeford tonight. which is to protect the last DNA evidence, the blood stain on the curbside that I saw so many people, especially media, who planted their tripod on his blood stain, where many of us started protecting that curve. And I think it would be easy for you, just have to find the money, and I'll be happy to donate the first dollar, $100, $1,000, whatever it's going to take to create a permanent stone flower bed, because those flowers right now, as I drove by to come here, is dying. It's not being reflushed, and it's going to be within next a week, month, a year. This whole thing will be forgotten unless we create a memorial that symbolizes what happened here to aspiring somebody that wants to become American like me, who had a 50 years more great life here. And I was so struck that so many people came out, but that's going to fade away. And it will, I'll be done in a minute. Because I don't have a prepared remarks. This is purely from my heart. Please find the funding source, and I'll be happy to give you my address, and I'll be the first person to donate. Thank you.
My name is Evan Lockwood. I'm not from Biddeford. I'm not even from Maine originally, but I wear this sweatshirt because I'm proud to live here, and I'm proud to have as many diverse neighbors and diverse friends as I do. And I can't help but sit there and think that you knew that this would happen. This was a long time coming, and that's sad to say. We'd been contacting you. We'd been emailing you about this, about the ICE presence in this, not only in this state, but in this city. And it's sad that it had to come to this point. Saying that there's not much that we can do, that just isn't enough. It's just not. There has to be something. If you're not emailing, if you're not calling, then what are we doing? Why are we here? Why are we the ones speaking on this? Why aren't you? They are. They're supposed to be. They're not right now. They are now because somebody's dead. But they weren't before. And I hope you hold that with you. And I hope that whatever it takes going forward, that you're out there, you're doing something. Because there's not much we can do isn't enough. These are the people that sat there and clapped for a city manager who quit on us, who quit on this city. They stood there and clapped for her. And now what? Now look where we are. It's not enough. You got to do more. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Catherine Crowley, and I'm a Mainer. I lived in Biddeford for over 10 years now, and I'm proud to be from this community. This is kind of an unprecedented time, I think, in a lot of our lives, and I find myself really wondering what I can do to make a difference. It feels like a couple times a year we vote, and a couple times a year we might show up to these. This is my first in-person city council meeting, which maybe is shame on me, but I'm happy to be here. And it took a lot to be here because I work. And so I had to have a lot of people cover for me to be here, which is another barrier to why I think there are not so many people here today, because they have to do what they have to do. We're not given the grace to speak for ourselves in person to the people that can listen, that can make a difference. So I'm really grateful to be here today. I have been out in our community every single day since Monday's tragedy happened. I've met more neighbors in the past week than I have my entire life living here. I've been protesting, going to the memorial, replacing those flowers because they are eventually going to wilt away. I don't want to forget what happened. I want to thank the police department and all of City Works for keeping us safe this week while we do protest and grieve. But this leaves a lot of questions for me that maybe I should know the answers to, but I don't. The police department, have they been cooperating and helping ICE since January when the shameful name of Catch of the Day is just laughing in our face as they terrorize our neighbors? Is Biddeford Police going to continue to cooperate with ICE if they come back? Because they're here. I live off Hubert Street, where there's viral video of my neighbor being harassed, saying that if you don't comply, we're going to come back and we're going to take all of your family. That was 2 doors down from me. And now this has happened on Poolin Hill. And to our neighbor, to Sebastian, to someone that meant something to so many people, I don't know that anything I'm saying is profound. I want to be heard. I want you all to know that we care so much about each other and we need to stand up for each other. And I hope that you hear us today and you do turn words into action. I had the happenstance of meeting the mayor and his wife on my way home from the vigil, and I got to shake both of your hands. And from all this time where all of these influencers and all of these politicians and these candidates are coming and rats on our streets getting publicity, it felt really good to have faith in somebody that was actually there on the streets. I want to thank you for showing up and caring about our community. And I hope that I can inspire a little hope that maybe if we just believe in our government and we show up for them and we stand up, we will help if you tell us how to help. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Haynes. I live at Hills Beach now. I was born in Bangor, raised in Biddeford on Havey Avenue, Grant Street, which no longer exists. And what I want to say is I feel responsible. I didn't do enough. And it's easy enough to say City Council didn't do enough, but also I didn't do enough. I've been on Ice Watch Committee, but Ice Watch Committee wasn't there. We didn't alert anyone the day that Johan was killed, because we don't have enough people in that Ice Watch Committee. And we need more people in that Ice Watch Committee. We need to have, in Biddeford, we need leaders that say, like Mayor Drapo did 100 years ago, we're drawing the line at the bridge. We do not want these people here. Because Johan wasn't killed just by an individual. And there's been a lot of information about the individual that killed him. But Johan wasn't killed by an individual. He wasn't just killed by ICE. I'm a member of Maine People's Alliance, and we went to Senator Collins' office last January, and we delivered a bag of ice melt. And we said, we don't want ice in our community. After we did that, and we also went to Senator King's office, but after we did that, Senator Collins went ahead and voted for billions more dollars for ice. So we need to be more firm in who we are. Stand at the bridge if we need to. That's how can we literally stand at the bridge and keep ICE out? Because the final point I want to make is also, Johan was not killed by an individual. He was killed by racism. He was killed by greed. He was killed by the profit motive. He was killed because ICE ICE agents get paid a bounty, basically. They have a quota. And why do they have a quota? They have a quota because millions and millions of dollars have been invested in these detention facilities. It's a money-making game for these people. It's not a game for us here in Biddeford when somebody gets killed, but it's a money-making game, and that's why they do it. Why do we have so many detention facilities? How many billions of dollars? Check it out. The 2 major corporations that house people that are abducted by ICE make billions of dollars. We don't have a city budget that's billions of dollars, but we need to band together, understand what we're really fighting against and what it really will take for us to change this system. Back in the days of slavery in Maine, there was a big debate. There was a lot of people that said we need to reform slavery. There are other people that said we need abolition. There was a strong abolitionist movement here in the state of Maine before the Civil War. If that abolitionist movement had won in the United States, we would not have had to have a civil war because we wouldn't have had to fight about slavery. But we did have a civil war here, and many people died because we didn't have a strong enough abolitionist movement. We need a strong abolitionist movement that says we are going to get rid of ICE and we're going to get rid of the whole system that upholds ICE. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the City Council and audience. My name is Victor Forsley, and I live at 16 Bayberry Road in Biddeford. I've been a full-time resident of Biddeford for the last 8 years, and I'm very pleased with what I see and what I've found in Biddeford. Now, Biddeford, unfortunately, is no longer unique in the fact that it has avoided violence that we've seen over the last week. And it's happening too often, and you're all witnesses to it. And I think adopting your proclamation tonight is a strong stance against what has been going on. But I'd like to direct my comment to Mayor. There are other cities that have faced this terrible situation. They have mayors, and I'm concerned as to whether or not you've been working with them to see how they're attacking this problem that we're facing. And if you could give us a report on that. I don't know that this is the forum to do that now, but that's what I would like to see, some upgrading of the information that we've received. I see the memorials, the flowers are wilting. I hope the spirit of the people in Biddeford isn't wilting, and I want to think that the mayor is going to maintain that spirit on getting this matter resolved one way or another. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. And I do want to say one other thing. I want to congratulate the city council, because I've listened to every single one of the people who spoke here tonight. Whether they agreed with you or not, you should be proud of the way they're willing to stand up for the city of Biddeford. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Sam Bullock. I live in Ward 4. I live at Foss and Pool. Johan was my neighbor. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but felt compelled to as somebody who lives so close to what happened. And I want to say, I want to let everybody know what the situation has been like in Ward 4 this year. ICE has been very present in our community. And unfortunately for me as a resident, what happened on Monday was an incredibly tragic inevitability. And I want to just be able to speak for the members of my community who, after Monday, told me how frightened they were and how frightened they have been since January or February. The bus stops are right outside of my house, and ICE has been surveilling them for months. Obviously, school's out now, but when school was in session, I've seen my immigrant neighbors pull their kids out of school. I've seen my immigrant neighbors be pulled out of cars by ICE in front of the children who are at the bus stops. It has been horrific. The parents are terrified. The children are terrified. I've done what I can as a community member, and this is my very first time being here at a city council meeting, and it won't be my last, and I'm sad that it is, because I feel so very let down by my elected officials that this was allowed to happen for so long. Thank you.
Good evening. John Collins, Ward 6, a block from here. No time. No time for love if they come in the morning. No time to show fears or tears in the morning. No time for goodbye. No time to ask why. And the sound of the siren is the cry of the morning. That's Moving Hearts, written 50 years ago. Nothing's changed. Oh, Biddeford really stepped up after the horrific event. But you know, for Carolina and Dulce, all the chants and flowers, candles, they're not going to bring Ohan back. They're also not going to deter the next killing like this one. The only thing that's going to do that is accountability, justice. If ICE agents knew they were going to face accountability, maybe they'd think twice or maybe 3 times before they pulled the trigger. But the question that's been said on, hundreds of 100 times in Minneapolis, in Houston, in Portland, in Chicago. The question is, how do you achieve that? 29 shootings, 6 deaths, 0 arrests. 0 is a pretty small number. So why? Why is because these supposed sham investigations carried out by Homeland Security are just a pretext for a cover-up. 2 images that concerned me last Monday. One was within a couple hours. The crime scene was secured and it was crawling with people wearing FBI shirts and DHS shirts. Biddeford PD and state police, nowhere to be seen. How did that happen? The other one that concerns me is if you look at the horrific video of Johan being pulled out of the car, 18 seconds after he's pulled out, a figure appears from the left side of the video I saw. I don't know whether it said ICE or DHS. It was an agent, not with all the puffed up, looked like a supervisor. I'm assuming that. Came sprinting in, went to the, we now know the killer who was hovering over the body, and pulled him away off to the side. And then you can see a little bit longer before the video quits. He's not comforting him. He's instructing him. I suggest that that's when the cover-up began. Get the story straight and stick to it. But then when the story fell apart, when the video evidence came out about the weaponized vehicle, change the story. Stick to the news story. Oh, all right. So I'll end. So, yeah, we got to deliver justice. But to do that, we have to reveal the cover-up. Transparency is what it's all about. Dirigo, I lead. Let Biddeford, let Maine be the one that stop at the bridge. Tell us what you're getting access to and not getting access to. Tell us what happened that morning that excluded the local and state police from the crime scene. Be transparent, be partners in this. We're on the same side, I hope, to get transparency, accountability, and ultimately justice. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elena Betts. I live on Graham Street. I've lived in Biddeford all 26 years of my life. I grew up in 3 different streets and 3 different wards. I am so just unsettled by what happened. You always hear, you never think it would happen here, and I truly never thought it would. Biddeford has been my home, and it has been such a place of safety for me, but also seeing the community we have. You would think it would never happen to somebody in the community, whether they are here legally or not. They are still a human being. They still deserve the right to due process. They still deserve the right to be here and talk to their family, whether that be at home or just wherever. It's an unfortunate event. And I was a teacher for 2 years. One of those years was up in Lewiston, and that was right when all of the ICE raids started to happen really aggressively. And I taught a lot of students from other countries, either coming here newly or they've been here for their entire lives and their families were the first ones to come over and they were horrified. They were so scared. And I know Lewiston is in Biddeford, but it still felt statewide. So seeing this effect happen here really truly has shocked me to the core because I've been out with the protesters and they have been so peaceful and so welcoming and to everyone, whether that be somebody driving by yelling at us or somebody walking by in the morning and offering them, we have free water, we have free snacks, you know, you're on a walk, you're in the neighborhood, would you like a water as you walk by? It's a hot day out. You know, all we're trying to do is get our voices heard, and we don't feel that any of it was fair in this situation, and we feel that Johan deserves to get more respect than what he was given, and we deserve some dignity, and his killer deserves to be held accountable, whether that's from you as a council member or from the state. I hope from the state or from federal, honestly, because this did not need to happen. Thank you.
My name is Matt Guile, and I live in Ward 3. I was in Kittery when the name of the city that I love, I heard on the radio. And when that happens, it can make a person feel so small. And I am under no illusion. The color of my skin means that I don't have to feel as small as other people do. When my taxpayer dollars, when our taxpayer dollars sponsor the murder of any one member of our community, nobody's rights are safe. And so I felt so disillusioned and small when I drove home into the city. That feeling shrunk when I saw the amount of people who came out, the amount of people who united in the name of love and who drew the line in the sand. This message is for you, Biddeford. I am so proud. I'm so proud of this place. And I know the work is not done, and many of us are wondering what our place is, what we can do. I don't know the answer, but I know it looks like it did on Monday, and it has since. For the people who showed up in protest against love and unification, well, I know that the membership of love has far more people than the memberships of hate and bigotry and intolerance and senselessness. And that makes me proud and gives me hope. And there's more to be done. There is more to be done. But I know the picture of what that is. It looks like Biddeford. So thank you. Thank all of you. And let's keep up that good work. Let's not relent. We can't afford to. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Abigail Felix. I live on Main Street in Biddeford. I have for 4 years now. Couple things about me. I hate public speaking, but I love my community. And that's why I'm up here today. I've been recovering from surgery for the last month. And one of the first things that I did was go out and protest on Monday morning. Then 2 days later, my friend and I were walking to another protest, and we had a drink thrown at us on Alfred Street. And when things like that happen, it really rattles you because we were there for our neighbor, for our friend, for someone in our community, and this is how other people repay us. And I think that everything you have said tonight with your proclamation is a great start, but we need action. If people are willing to be on the street and do something heinous, why can't we do something great for the people of our community? People are here talking to you because we need something to happen. This is not just something we saw on the news. This is something that happened on our streets. Again, our streets. My mom lives in Hawaii, and she found out later in the day by seeing it on Instagram Reels. Getting a call from your mom asking why you were at a protest that she saw on Instagram Reels is an insane moment and something I never want anyone to have to experience again. We just want you to do something instead of just saying something. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brandy Rogers, and I'm in Ward 6. I want to start by quoting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." And I appreciate so many of my community members, as many people have said this, coming up here this evening. I think it's been a beautiful tribute to our city, how we've responded, and I really appreciate being part of it and everything that I've seen in our city, or much of what I've seen in our city the last week or so, given this tragic event. Another thing I'd like to mention is my teacher, Marty Burgess, who lives in Kennebunk. Many of you may know him. I taught with him for many years. We taught peace skills to those who had committed domestic violence or who at least had been caught with doing domestic violence. And I have to remind myself of this, and I just want to share it because I don't know if everyone else knows this idea, but it's very simple. And it's called the 3 Ds. And so whenever there's anything tense going on, or even if you're just having a tough day and you have to have a tough conversation with your partner, the most dangerous thing that we have to do is listen. And so anyway, a quick and dirty option for that when we're having a hard time or just need to think about this stuff and how can we be peaceful are the 3 Ds: sit down, hands down, voice down. And so if I can remember that, everyone around me is a lot safer. And so any of us who are in a position to participate in any de-escalation trainings throughout all of this, I encourage it, and I hope to participate in even more. And the main point of why I'm here right now, and I'll be very brief, is I would like to find out the answer to this question, and I'd love an answer back by phone or by email, however that can be coordinated. But I'd just like to go on the record and have this question answered. How frequently do Biddeford law enforcement find the need to shoot into vehicles to keep our community safe? I'd like to know of all time. I'd like to know this week, this year, and I'll look for those answers as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hello, Kayla Lewis, Ward 3. There's not much to say about this, so I'm gonna keep it pretty brief to some extent. I'm not gonna play coy with you guys. We've done our part as a community. We'll continue to do our part now. It is your turn to do what you need to do. And what does that look like? If you're really unsure, I can give you a couple of ideas. You can form a network with Sanford, Saco, Lewiston, communities that look like ours, form a coalition and start to mobilize and have conversations and actually come up with an action plan and talk to our representatives to advocate for action steps at the state level. That way, our communities that have, BIPOC community members are actually seeing action happen in a larger way. It can't just stay in Biddeford. We have to look at other communities that look like us and start collaborating and working together, okay? That's one idea, okay? And I have some contacts in Sanford if you need help, okay? So I'm here, okay? A tool that you guys know you have. You can form an ad hoc committee, right? Just start looking at actual action steps, like forming a coalition or a network of communities that look like ours to actually start getting plans into place, okay? To start brainstorming what we can actually do and what it can look like in our community, but also in other communities. That's well within your wheelhouse. Another thing that you have at your disposal, you have a DEI committee. That's what they're there for, okay? So You can mobilize them, have them be a part of the ad hoc group. You have, a public arts commission, okay? You can bring them into the conversation. We're talking about preserving the memorial site. That's what they're there for as well. We have community members who will most likely probably donate to help build something, okay? So these are some of the basic things that I just came up with by sitting down and listening to my fellow community members. I came up with those ideas, okay? And I'm not even an elected official. So I know if you gave it some thought, you can probably come up with some really great ideas as well. First thing you should probably do is form that ad hoc committee and get on the phone with Sanford, Saco, and Lewiston. That's what I would do. Thank you. Oh, and let's not play coy. Let's actually move to action. Thank you.
My name's Remy Lindeman. I live right around the corner from where the execution occurred. I've lived in Biddeford as a homeowner for 10 years. I'm a business owner downtown for 5. And I speak to your residents and your constituents every day in my business. They talk about how scared they are. They talk about how they wonder if their kids are going to come home from school or if they're going to get snatched up. Our neighborhood where we live is very diverse with minorities and immigrants. We love our neighbors. We feel safe with our neighbors. We have not felt safe ever since ICE came into town. And along a long enough timeline, this was honestly an inevitability, and there is nothing to stop them from doing it again. My question to you all is, what are you going to do to keep us all safe? That's my question. And we love our community. My wife and I have lived in Memphis, in Detroit, in New York, in Las Vegas, but we have never felt as unsafe for ourselves and our neighbors as we have in the last week. And words are not enough. We need action. And we need to know that you're going to keep the city and its inhabitants safe. That's all I have to say.
Hello. My name is Alex Stikowski. I live on Pool Street, about 6 houses down from where Sebastian was murdered at the hands of our tax dollars. My wife and I first moved to Biddeford in 2018. It was a desolate place, empty storefronts with boarded up windows lined Main Street. My neighborhood was loud, rambunctious, and hardly diverse. Now the empty storefronts are filled with small businesses that care about their community from business owners of diverse backgrounds. My neighborhood is filled with diverse families, and I've never felt safer. Johan was my neighbor, and I felt strongly that I could not sit idly by while innocent blood stains my street. Immigrants are part of our community, and they always have been. The proclamation was a great start. It's unfortunate that it came too late to save a life. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's the persistence in spite of fear's presence. I ask those of you elected officials to be brave in the face of tyranny and publicly denounce ICE's presence in the city of Biddeford, or make room for someone who will be brave on our behalf. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Sims. I live in Ward 5. I might be the most recent member, new member of Ward 5 here tonight. I was moving into my new residence on July 4th this month. Was feeling very happy about my newfound freedom in this state, in Biddeford. Immediately, I noticed the friendliness and welcome feeling from all of the people in the town, especially having moved from a place
full of 287G programs where, if you're not familiar with them, this is where local law enforcement, like deputies and sheriffs, basically become deputized ICE agents. Full access to the ICE systems, and then they make ICE arrests. That's not how it was here. And then on July 13th, it was suddenly. And I looked around and I could see on the faces of everybody, looks like I remembered from where I came from. But I have a question that shouldn't be a theoretical legal question. It should be a theoretical legal question, but tonight it isn't. It's a question for you. When local law enforcement has been provided objective, reasonable evidence to believe that there is probable cause that there is an imminent threat to the people that they swear to protect, what is their responsibility? To turn their gaze outward to the source of the threat, to take physical defensive action, to use their authority and arms if necessary, to protect its residents from lethally dangerous roving posses on hunting expeditions, carrying out summary executions and vigilante injustice. As a city council, you should consider this question. You should ask your residents what they think about it. And then you should ask yourself if you are willing to take action based on what your constituents want you to do. You can choose to be on the right side of history. As a new Mainer that I feel like I am proud of and want to continue to be proud of, I ask you, what does Dear Joe look like? What does it look like?
Hi, good evening. I'm Holly Culleton. I live in Ward 6. This tragedy should never have happened. We all know that. I was very, on Monday though, after he had been killed, I was just amazed by the amount of people that turned out in Mechanics Park in solidarity to mourn his death and also just be there for each other. And I think we all realize that in order to get anything done, you have to start working together. And I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time right now. I run Biddeford Community Gardens. We have 4 gardens in town, and I want to invite people to come to the garden, to clear your head, to soothe your soul, to nourish yourself. And you can best bet that if ICE shows up at one of our gardens, I'm going to tell them to get the hell out. I also want to invite the community to come to Youthful Maine's food distributions this week. Tomorrow at the 22nd of July from 4 to 7. They are going to be in Mechanics Park with Music in the Park and Biddeford Public Market. They're going to be in the Mission Hill Garden and the St. Andre's parking lot. They're going to be in Williams Court. They're going to be in Clifford Park and at the J. Richard Martin Community Center. So bring your family. If you need to pick up vegetables or groceries for your neighbor, they'll be there from 4 to 7 at all of these locations. So I'd like to bring these up to you guys if I may, okay? And just be good to each other.
Hey there, my name is Steph Mantis. I'm from Ward 4. I grew up in Biddeford. I went to Biddeford High. I was I left and then came back during COVID, and I've been here for the last 6 years, not full time, but heavily. And I live on Alfred Street, and I look at the post office every day. When I'm here in the last week, the flag has been at half mast, and I know why. And it's different when you see it half mast and it's something different and distant. This is visceral, this is hitting, and I don't feel like I have much to say that hasn't been said here tonight. And I'm not here to lambast anyone or criticize, because at this point that doesn't do anything for Johan, that doesn't do anything for anyone that is unprotected in the future. And I really am here more so to, you know, just reiterate some of what my neighbors have already said tonight, which is that we have to be more proactive. We have to be looking at different solutions. If the format of government and city, like this meeting, for example, if people can't make it to this meeting, we need to have some satellite meetings. We need to have different days, different times. It can be bite-sized. Like, we are a tight-knit community. I run a restaurant here. I've been talking to restaurant owners about all the ways we can coordinate, support. What does that look like as business owners? If we have space to offer, can we have a meeting in a restaurant? You know, how do we do things apolitically? When a neighbor is murdered, there shouldn't be politics. This isn't a political thing. And whether or not this is a coordinated or uncoordinated agenda from the federal level, it is incompetent no matter what. And we cannot continue to be reactive to incompetence at this level. We must be proactive. We must find ways to strengthen the connections we have together. And I don't think it's this big formal thing. I think it is small, connected moments, daily actions. And I think, you know, to Kayla's point, like, we should be talking to other cities. We should be coordinating and expanding networks and borrowing tools that are being tried and you know, tested in unfortunate circumstances. But we know where to look, unfortunately, in this country. And I really implore that we do so. So, if there's anything that the business community can offer, like maybe there's an ad hoc committee that we can start to kind of funnel into the council. I volunteered to help coordinate that. And it's rather shocking to be standing here today. And I pray that no one else in our community in Maine and in this country abroad has to do the same. So thank you.
Cat Bates, Ward 5. There has been a lot of talk tonight about action rather than words. I appreciate that sentiment. I'd like to bring up a few ideas to encourage outside of the box thinking about how we might address this. I don't think any of these or all of them are enough, but some things to get the ball rolling, at least for consideration. Biddeford Police should be looking out for vehicles without agency markings or appropriate plates and pulling them over. If the police can't I do not, in general, promote that kind of aggressive policing, and I think leniency should be encouraged if something like that were to be enacted. But I do think it's a good idea, even if the Biddeford Police Department can't make an arrest in an instance like that. At least you are slowing ICE down. That's a good thing. Another thing that could be done on the local level would be to enact a policy forbidding law enforcement of any agency from wearing a mask and requiring uniform insignia. I loosely understand this being looked at least the federal or state level, but it could happen here on the local level first. If the police department sees, quote, agents not following said procedures, act on the assumption they are kidnapping someone, that it is an abduction in progress. Intervene. My understanding is that in emergency situations, the enactment of ordinances can be expedited, and this is certainly such a situation. so that kind of a policy could be put into effect. The last thing on the list here would be to encourage the community to report presumed abductions to the police and encourage the police to take such reports seriously and intervene promptly. Even if the police is to learn that the operation is illegal, ensure that information on the federal officers present is recorded for local law enforcement purposes. Anything that we can do to slow this BS down is good. It's not enough, but like, let's do something. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alan Dutremble. I was born in Biddeford 74 years ago, born and raised in Ward 5, and now I live in Ward 6. First, I want to say that the mayor and city council, it's not your fault. There's no one in this room sitting in your place right now that could have prevented this from happening. The problem now is in Washington, D.C., with President Trump having the green light to do anything he wants, and he knows it. I never knew my grandfather. He immigrated here from Canada to try to find a better life. He was an immigrant, and he was a police officer here, shot and killed on duty when my father was 9 years old. So I wish I could have met the man. All I know about him is what my father told me. But he was an immigrant. We're a city of immigrants. I work in Booth Bay Harbor in the summertime. I'm a 43-year teacher here in Biddeford. I work in Booth Bay Harbor in the summer when my boss let me come here to speak tonight. I work with a lot of Republicans and MAGA people up there. And I asked them about who's that guy out west, that young guy who was killed during his speech last year. And they said, oh, Charlie Kirk. I asked him about the senator who just passed away. Oh, Lindsey Graham. So I said, okay, who were the two people in Minneapolis that were killed by ICE? They didn't know. So you didn't know Alex Pretty and Renee Good. I said, how about the fellow in Houston that was just killed last week? Oh, they didn't know about Lorenzo Salgado. Couldn't come up with the name. And I said, okay, well, how about someone in your own state now? How about the young man that was killed in Biddeford this last week? They couldn't come up with his name either. And you know what? I asked them the next day, and they didn't know it then. They don't care. Really, the reality of the situation is Donald Trump has so much power in Washington right now. He's like a monarch. And the only way we can change this is to make sure we have a change in the majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate this November. So if we can point fingers as much as we want here, but we've got to get involved in the next election and make sure independents and some Republicans, but really independents and Democrats, we've got to make sure that they go out there and vote for Democrats no matter what. I don't know who the candidate's going to be. It looks like it could be Troy Jackson, but whoever it is, that person's got my vote because we've got to make sure we've got a Democrat from Maine.
Good evening. My name is Mofalo, and I'm the Executive Director for the Maine Migrant Rights Coalition. I'm exhausted. Our organization is exhausted. When something this big happens, and it happens on your watch as a leader, history is going to remember you. What did you do? There's been so much pain that's come from the community, and it keeps coming. But it's on your watch. It's on your watch as leaders. When the lights are turned off today, it's on your watch. We're always asked as an organization, tell us what to do. We're tired of telling you what to do as an organization. I know my friends from Presente, I think, were here or they're still here. We're tired. But this is happening in your town. This is happening in your town. It's got nothing to do with politics. It's got to do with a life. When January 20th happened, I was telling everyone, you are affected directly or indirectly. As leaders, what are you going to do? I have a statement I've shared with the mayor, and he'll share that with you. But after listening to everyone, I want to look at you leaders. It's on your watch. What are you going to do for this community, not just immigrants, for this community, because this community is destabilized because an immigrant life has died. It's on your watch. Let the immigrants remember that change came from a small town in Maine called Biddeford. Let change come from this small town.
Hello, my name is Kate 80. I'm a resident of Ward 4, just a few streets up, just off of Hill Street. I wish that I went before a representative from the Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition because my words will not be as resonant as hers. What an unfortunate shared collective experience that this community has gone through, and I'm so hopeful to see the town show up for our neighbor. And I guess I just have a hope or a request or something I'm looking forward to is that I'm looking forward to seeing this response be a continual agenda item because this is not new. This has gone on long before January when there was increased ICE presence in Maine. I remember one of my first city council meetings that I attended was when the community was reacting to an ICE raid on some workers off of Hill Street who were just doing their jobs. And that was many months before January. And it's disappointing to see that we're still having this and it hasn't been a topic of conversation in consistent meetings. So I look forward, small thing, for us to continue to hear what you all are doing to respond to keep our community safe, to keep our immigrants safe. So I look forward to seeing updates as I know many of you ran on communication, on transparency and accountability. So I look forward to seeing that commitment follow through over the next several months and years because this will take a lot of work. Thank you.
My name is Christina Gastelum. I'm in Ward 2. Well, I live in Ward 2. I'm not currently in Ward 2. I don't think I need to say a whole lot more, but one thing that has occurred to me in this revelation that we're having here is that we are not using a community policing model in this city yet. I would like us to consider doing that. And one of the reasons is because then if we have better relationships with law enforcement, then we're not being terrorized by our own police force. And I'm not saying the Biddeford police are terrorizing people. By and large, when I've seen them in action, they have really been very respectful and useful human beings. But we could do better. And we could also have police cars that say police on them a little more clearly. Like our police cars are black. And they sort of subtly say police on them. And it makes it scary when that kind of a car pulls you over. So, you know, we don't need to do that tomorrow, but we could do better. Thank you.
I'm not only the oldest, I'm the shortest person here, for sure. Rosemary DeAngelis from South Portland. I will begin by saying I served 6 years on the South Portland City Council, and I served as mayor in South Portland. I presently serve as chair of the school board, and I raise these issues for a reason. I grew up in Old Orchard Beach, and I remember Biddeford when the mills were bustling, providing jobs for most residents. And I remember the Puritan, and I remember Butlers of Biddeford, and I remember Palackowicz. The community was built by immigrants for immigrants. We are a country made up of immigrants, a place that should welcome immigrants. I taught at this high school. I know the Iraqi owners of Leilina, the Vietnamese gentleman who owns the clothing shop, and Francesco at Coletti's Pizza, and these are just a few, all immigrants. I tie with Alan Dutremble for likely the oldest person in this room, and he is right. First, vote. Second, run for public office. And third, let your voice be heard. I attended the vigil on the night of the murder, and that's what it was, a murder. And as sad as it was also incredibly powerful. Someone said, all government is local, and that's true. The role of every elected official is to represent the voice of the people, and you are hearing the voices tonight. If you listen, the names spoken here are names from around the globe, and that's who we are. And we need your help to keep all of us safe. I'm going to ask the public to not clap when I finish, and I encourage the council to set clear rules for public comment. Thank you.
Hello. Excuse me. My name is April Caldy. I'm a resident of Biddeford, Maine, and I have lived less than a mile from the Pool Street intersection currently. I used to live up on Pike Street for about 5 years, and I would go through that intersection daily, you know, on my way to school, on my way to work. To start off, over the past week, I've seen the people of Maine band together in protests, walks, and vigils in Biddeford, Portland, Scarborough, Holwell, Lewiston, Bangor, and so many other places to support our neighbors and to show that we will not let this stand and we are not going to just stand by. Our neighbors need our support and our protection, and to know that we are going to be there for them. I hope, I push that you, the council, will support them as well, not just with your words, but with your actions. Someone said it earlier very well, limited power is not no power. Thank you.
Any other folks who would like to speak this evening? If so, please come down to the podium.
be a little brief as I'm seemingly the last one. My bad, I'm a little dramatic. My name is Dion Smith. I live in Ward 5. I have been living in Biddeford since 2020. My first community experience was digging out cars from a snowstorm and having my neighbors come over and just start shoveling me out and exchanging names and becoming friendly with them. Immigrants, people of color, white people, it didn't matter who you were. I have worked in Biddeford. I have worked at Biddeford Middle. When Trump was inaugurated, the children were already concerned about ICE presence. They had felt that fear immediately. I still currently work with children as a therapist. They feel this fear. These children are afraid for their friends as they go to school. Will their friends make it to school? These are middle schoolers. These are high schoolers. We cannot reverse what happened, but at this point, we can show action and show them for the children, for the future, for those that come after, show that we had some grit, that we have community, and we have shown that all week. We have community. We also need you guys to step up and show that you are a part of that community, that you want to enlighten that community, you want to highlight that community, you want to highlight these children, you want to make sure that they have a future. Dang, that was quick. I don't know how much more I can go into work and talk to children about the fact that ICE is in our neighborhoods and talk about their fear for themselves and their friends. Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Robinson, Ward 1. I don't really have a constructed narrative, just going to make a few observations. In my day job, I'm in communications, and a couple times I can remember being connected to events kind of like what happened last week. The most memorable one was 9/11. After the next day, I had a call from a kid I grew up with on May Street, direct family connection to one of the folks who was on one of the planes. And sort of a searing memory of that is working with the family and experiencing just the utter rage that they were going through at the time. I'll never forget it. And it wasn't always rational. It was just rage. So please keep that in mind, Council, tonight. I think the audience has been fantastic in expressing themselves. And, I think sometimes rage gets misdirected. Just keep that in mind. I've heard a couple things here tonight. Number one, there was a question from a young lady who asked about how many times Biddeford police have blasted out the windshield of any moving vehicle with somebody driving it. I think I know the answer to that. I think it's never happened. And I think that I've also heard a call for we just want to be heard. I commend you guys for having this evening tonight. You changed up the regular council meeting, provided this space, and I hope everybody feels heard tonight because I think they have been. Great to see my good friend Alan Dutremble show up tonight. He was great. I don't know if he's still here. He's back there. a great teacher at Biddeford High School and a real credit to this society. The gentleman from Kennebunkport right there, who said he's, I think, been here for 50 years. It just reminded me when I was a substitute teacher at Biddeford Junior High School in the 80s. That's when we had our wave of Vietnamese immigrants coming in. So we saw a lot of kids who were coming in. This community has always been welcoming. I was fortunate enough to go to the memorial. I'm running out of time on the streets one night last week, and also I was at the Monday protest at 7 o'clock. This community has distinguished itself in the last week. Thank you.
Are there any other folks who'd like to speak this evening? Seeing none, thank you all for your comments. I will close the public hearing and turn it over to city councilors for any remarks. Councilor Cody.
Thank you. I'd like to just start by thanking everyone for coming tonight. It's great to hear your thoughts. I think a lot of everyone, I think almost everyone in the room feels the same way in terms of the anger. I want to send my love and thoughts to the family of Mr. Guerrero. I mean, his death is an absolute tragedy that should have been avoided. I also want to thank all the city employees that worked extremely hard to get the city through one of its most difficult weeks in its history. From a personal perspective, my wife and I participate in protests, and my wife carries a sign that says, "This is not a left or right moment, it is a right or wrong moment." To me, this perfectly describes where we are now. This moment is not about what either side of the polarized political spectrum thinks, it's about what humanity considers right and wrong. To me, it is wrong killing a young man trying to provide for his family. It is wrong that his wife no longer has a husband. It is wrong that his young daughter can no longer play with her father. The loss of Mr. Guerrero's life is an irreversible catastrophe. I think everyone in this room feels anger, sadness, and frustration at such a needless loss of life. However, the next step is what's most important. What can we do right? Donate to the family or other support groups to help fund the fights that they're fighting. Volunteer with other groups that help immigrants, getting groceries, running errands, doing things to make them feel more safe. Providing food for the hungry, anything to bring positivity to a community that is hurting. Remember, this is not a left or right moment, but a right or wrong moment. Mr. Guerrero's senseless death was wrong, and we need everybody in the community to step up to turn this into something right. Thank you.
Councilor Badney.
Okay. First, I'd like to also thank everyone for coming. It was kind of a unanimous decision on the city councilors to have this night, so you could share your feelings and concerns. It takes a lot of courage to come up here and do that, and I commend all those that did. I also hope through this we can become more united and not divided. There's no question this should not have happened. I don't think there's anyone in this room that would question that. It was a senseless tragedy. This is our community. This is not my community. Anyone who lives here, it's our community. I have called this my community for 65 years. And I'm here because my grandfather and grandmother immigrated here. And that's what brought me to Biddeford. And I spent 65 years watching this community grow. Carolina expressed during her interview her pain saying that she lost her soul. Her soul is broken. So she expressed that with no anger, no hatred, which I commend her to do that. If anyone should be angry, full of hatred, it would be her. My belief during a tragedy is that cool heads prevail, especially with leadership. And I want to thank the mayor for having that calm demeanor during an unthinkable tragedy this week. His calm resolve may appear to some he is doing nothing, and it may appear that we are doing nothing. But that is what leadership should look like. Sometimes it's not loud, full of answers, but there are things happening behind the scenes. Reform and resolution cannot be achieved with violence. It never has and never can. My hope for our city is a commitment that our council has to the 5 steps in our proclamation is a start. We hope, or I hope, it will bring us to a more clarity, acceptance, and a peaceful community. And I think that's what we all want. Thank you.
Counselor Woods.
Been jotting down things as you all have been talking. Thank you all for your words and for being here. I know I am committed to taking the action that you all have asked for tonight. I hope that my fellow elected officials are as well. As was just stated, there have been responses going on in the background, but I think it's time for it to not be in the background. And I hear that from you all. I have been involved personally in response efforts, but I sit here and I've sat here over the last week regretting not saying more in this seat, from this seat. I don't know if this could have been stopped. As was stated, it's not surprising. ICE has been terrorizing our streets for months now. They have been in my neighborhood. This happened a block from my house. I've visited the memorial every single day. We can hear the rain sitting in here, trying to keep notes safe from the rain and make sure that things are refreshed. So thank you for those who have come out to the memorial. I'll leave it at that. I hear you, and let's all act together. The only thing I'll say is this does take all of us. You all have showed up. We have showed up. We're going to continue to do our best to show up, but it does take all of us. We have a little bit more power that we should utilize, but you all have power as well. There's power in the words you spoke tonight, and I'm so grateful to be in this amazing community. And my heart goes out to Sebastian's family, Carolina and Dulce. I'm so sorry that we could not save your husband and your father. Thank you.
Counselor Kurtz.
Not having a social security number is not a capital offense. It doesn't matter. No one should be shot, executed on the street by federal agents. Don't care if you're Johan. I don't care if what your immigration status is. That's not a capital offense. That's not what our laws even say, let alone the people who are following the laws. I don't care about that. I don't care what if you have a social security number or not. I don't care if you're Randy Weaver and you have the wrong size shotgun. I don't care. This is someone was executed by the federal government in our city. I believe it behooves me to mention this, and then I'm done. This happened a block away where my mother goes to synagogue, and if you don't think the Jews are talking about this, you're fucking crazy. This is the same thing. Thank you.
Councillor Dowdy.
Thank you. I would like to start by thanking the mayor for the change in scope to this meeting. As Councillor Badney said, it was a unanimous decision, but the mayor certainly wanted us to be able to have this time and the space to hear from our community about the profound loss that we have all faced. This week has been incredibly difficult for our community. But most of all, it has been incredibly difficult for the family and the loved ones of Mr. Guerrero, who lost his life as a direct result of an ICE operation here in our community. That fact alone has left many people grieving, scared, angry, and searching for answers. And I share in that anger and the grief that many of you are feeling. I also want answers, and I think we would all share that we are working diligently to try every avenue possible to find answers and to push for transparency and accountability for what has occurred in our community. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and letting us hear your voices. I know it's not easy to speak publicly, especially regarding something so traumatic that has happened. So thank you for coming. As Councillor Wood said, we also want to turn our words into action, and I think that many of you are waiting for us to do that, and rightfully so. And I think many of us are going to push for action and not just words. Thank you.
Councillor Pearson.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No one should die because of their own or someone else's immigration status. Full stop. No question. Thank you for coming tonight and being willing to share your sadness, shock, bewilderment, anger, and grief. This type of public forum is imperative after such a tragic event. To hear directly from you allows us to better serve our community and be better leaders. We as elected officials are responsible for creating spaces for public discourse while also being the stewards of our community. Our community elected us to take the tough actions that are required to keep our community safe and functional. I'm going to push back and say I think tonight that we failed that. Our city did not shut down when Mr. Guerrero was killed. Our city staff continued to show up and do their jobs. They processed car registrations, picked up waste, answered EMS calls, conducted traffic stops, gave out building permits, gave our children a safe place to spend the day in our summer camps, kept our parks pristine, and did the hundreds of other tasks that have to be done to keep a city running. I am grateful for their dedication and hard work in the face of this unimaginable tragedy. Being an elected official comes with an expectation that you do what is best for the community at large, not what is easy or comfortable for you personally. We have dealt with that already this year with a complicated and arduous budget process. This council has shown that it is willing to do the hard work, even when it is contentious and uncomfortable. I am disappointed that we did not follow that example tonight. We had an agenda in place for tonight's meeting that should have been addressed after this important and vital public discussion. While the items on that agenda may seem trivial, delaying our city manager search by a week, not approving citizen appointments to our city committees, not voting on our liquor license for new business, not discussing the leases at the community center, not approving FY26 budget carryovers, updating an MOU with OOB, and amending the council rules impacts our residents and our community. Any item that does that is far from trivial. Our city has many challenges and is never easy nor comfortable to face challenges. This council has made a point that we will not kick the can down the road. Well, tonight, we did. For that, I feel I must apologize to our residents for not living up to our promises. Again, thank you for coming out tonight and sharing with us your open and honest and open emotions. Public speaking is never easy, and I applaud each and every one of you who spoke tonight. You were heard. Actions are important, not just words. And for those of you who didn't speak but attended to support those that did, thank you as well. Community only exists when communication and action happen with transparency and honesty. Thank you.
Any other council comments at this time? And I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight and sharing your voice. As Councilor Woods said, that voice has power. Also want to thank Presente Maine, Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition, and the many community organizations, faith leaders, volunteers, advocates who've been working alongside Johan's family and supporting our community during this incredibly difficult time. As I've walked the neighborhood in the last week, I consistently heard from people, I never imagined something like this would happen here, but it did. And we're faced with the aftermath of that. We have a responsibility to respond with compassion, with courage, bravery, and a commitment to justice. And as we heard here tonight, not just words, but actions. So that's what I'm committed to do tonight, next week, the next month, and so long as I serve in this role. Thank you. Now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Woods.
Second.
Second by Councilor Pearson. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.